Now, today we're going to talk about something that takes minimum of about 24 seconds to do. Most people do it about 4 times per day. You shouldn't do it in public. And you may not know it, but it has been used over the millennia for a myriad of different things, from use in face creams to gas masks to you name it, basically. We all do it, as I say. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about pee. Urine. And why am I? Well, it's our health slot with our resident pharmacist, Dara Connolly, and he knows a lot more about taking the pee than I do. So let's go over to him now. Dara, how are you doing?
Good evening, Ian.
An unusual topic you have for us today, Dara, that's for sure.
This is a great topic, Ian, because like you say in your introduction there, we all do it and we all do it a lot. Now, some of us do it less often than others. Some of us do it and we learn a lot about our own health from it. So what we're talking about is your kidneys and your urine, okay?
Now, before you go on, right, I want to get into this a bit more. The history of the uses of urine. Before we talk about, what you can tell from different colours, etc., and all that type of thing, I could not believe when doing a bit of research in this article the number of applications for pee down the millennia.
Yeah, what your kidneys do is they filter proteins out of your system, and they filter an awful lot of other stuff as well. So I always go back to the analogies of at home and all the rest of it, and what do you see? So if you think of the filter that you have inside in your own washing machine or your own dishwasher or anything like that, it's designed to work as an efficient system of catching stuff that you don't want and getting rid of it. If it stops working, you notice signs because things change. But basically how it's being used is like in ancient times there was the fullers were the people who actually cleaned robes and clothes and stuff like that. And outside the fullers there'd be a big pot. And this has been found in Pompeii, right, as you go back and look at it. And they would ask people to come along and to urinate into this big pot, right? And they would pay them a drachma or whatever it was back in the day to do that. And then they'd get that and then they would pour that into a big vat, and then they would use that to wash the clothes. Because just as lots of the things that you have in modern day washing powders, there weren't such a thing back then. But what you would use is the ammonia and the nitrates that are in that now in your urine, which is what you smell when urine goes off. That is what they use to clean clothes. They also then realised as well is that there is different breakdown products in it as well. So another one of those breakdown products of nitrates is urea. And urea is really good at helping to hydrate your skin and to locking in moisture within it. So you could use as part of a face cream, you could use urea.
And they used to use the wet baby's nappies to wipe on the baby's own face.
Correct.
As a sort of a skincare thing.
As a skincare thing for your own baby.
Also, when urine leaves your body, it's sterile, right?
It's absolutely sterile.
And this has been used in medical procedures over the years as well.
You can walk into my pharmacy or any pharmacy and you can find Listerine mouthwash on the shelf, right? Now,
I know where this is going.
I can see the little wry look in your eye. No, Listerine mouthwash does not have any urine in it, Ian. But Lister was one of the first surgeons who made a connection between cleanliness and deaths in surgery. So if you consider he could have been down in the basement of the hospital cutting up a cadaver, he would literally run up the stairs to deliver a baby using the same surgical instruments. Because back in the day they just didn't realise what bacteria was or how people died from infection and what goes with it. So Lister realised that you had to clean your kit.
Yeah.
And he used to clean his kit with his own urine because it was 100% sterile. Because the most beautiful thing about your kidneys is they work so efficiently. What comes out is sterile, has absolutely no bacteria in it whatsoever. Now, if it stands around in a pot for too long, very quickly bacteria can attack it. It breaks down into chemicals, and that's the ammonia. That's the horrible smell that you get from gone off wee. But if you get it in time, you can use it to sterilise. Not anymore.
Exactly. Things have moved on. There are other ways to do it.
If you're in a field hospital somewhere and all there was left, maybe so.
Jellyfish stings as well is another thing they say. Pee on it.
It can be used for that because it's slightly alkaline, or some people can be acidic and that kind of stuff as well. So if you consider, very, very commonly you go to the doctor now and the doctor says, look, give me a urine sample, and he puts a dipstick into the urine sample and he can tell by chemical reactions that happen in that dipstick. It's a good indicator of things that might be right with you, but things that might be wrong with you.
Let's dig into that a bit more, away from the really funny stuff, which is enjoying way too much, and into, so you give the sample to the doctor, and by its colour, by its acidity or otherwise, what can you tell?
What you can tell is, if you consider that a filter is broken, it's going to let out stuff that it's meant to catch, okay? So there's something wrong if there's stuff in there that's not meant to be in there. So very basically, even before you think about going to the doctor, the colour of your wee is a very, very good indicator to what might be going on with your own urine and your own and how things are working. So if you consider your classic colour of urine is kind of a gold colour. It can sometimes be a bit lighter than that if you have a lot of fluid on board. It can be darker than that if you're a little bit dehydrated. If you consider when you're drinking an awful lot, say if you're on a night out, you will wee more frequently and it becomes nearly the colour of water. That's because your body is set in a mode to expel all this fluid that you normally don't take, and that's what happens, and that's why it's that colour. On the other extreme, if you, say for example, are suffering from a flu and you have a very high temperature, you, through your metabolic rate going up, your heart rate going up, your breath being deeper and shallower and more frequent, what you end up is you metabolize an awful lot of water and it comes out in your breath. So there's less to come out in your wee. So your wee is very dark. So it's always a good indicator when I'm talking to patients and they're talking about their kids and have their kids got an infection and that. Ask them what's the colour of their wee when you either see it in a potty or in a nappy. That's a good indicator. So if it's gone, the more brown it's gone, they probably have an infection in their general system because they're burning up an awful lot of fluid and it comes out.
So the darker the colour of your wee, the less healthy you are, I suppose, really. Is that right?
In some regards. What you would like to have is just that nice kind of crisp golden colour that's there to say that you have enough fluid in your system to do the job that you're meant to do, to metabolise all that stuff and to get rid of it. You can have too much, which is not a bad thing, which makes it a very, very light colour, but it is an indicator that there's something else going on. Or anybody who has been dehydrated and, say, finished a match or finished running or whatever, it can be like Coke. You know, that you've got a problem.
Dark,
Where you've also got problems, and the ones to watch out for, is do you see any red colour in your urine, okay? That's a sign that there's blood in there, okay? Or if you have a funny smell in your urine, that's a sign that there's something going on there as well. Now, what is very curious is there'll be a lot of people out there listening, and you may not have this conversation at the table, but we all break down different food products and different things differently. But there's a lot of people out there, about 20% of people, when they eat asparagus, you can actually smell asparagus in your wee later on. And like, it's not, it's fascinating to me because it's not fascinating to me because I'm a pharmacist, and that's the kind of thing that I've always found interesting. But about 80% of people won't, 20% of people will. And the same thing is true of sugar puffs. Whatever it is, there's something in sugar puffs. So instead of you digesting it and it going out in your poo, it actually goes out in your wee. So you can smell it from your own wee. Now, there are other warning signs that you can get with your wee, right? Which is to say, if there is a foul smell from it, or if you can see blood in it, if you can see any brown patches, or most importantly, is it painful when you go to the toilet? Is a sign that there is an infection there. And the other big one, like we've spoken about before, particularly for men, are you finding that there's a little bit of a dribble after you've finished, or do you find that it takes a long time from when you decide to go to the toilet to actually that your waterworks engage? So look, the take-home message from all of this is it's the most fascinating part of your human anatomy. You do it so often, you pay very little attention to it. But there are really, really good guidelines to whether you're fit or healthy or any of those things within your wee. So pay attention.
Dara, it was the last thing I expected to be talking about when I came in here today, but it has been fascinating. Our resident pharmacist, Dara Connolly, thanks a million for that.
Thanks, Ian.